everybody to Table Read Tuesdays. We are going to do Sweet Tooth tonight, which is a show on Netflix. We're going to be doing episode 1, the pilot called Out of the Deep Woods. My name is Erin. I'm going to start with introducing everyone tonight, and I'll start with Kat, who's doing our actions descriptions tonight.
Hi there, I'm Kat Wilson from Gig Harbor, Washington, and as Erin said, I'll be reading actions and descriptions. And normally on weekends, I'll be reading Shakespeare. So if you want to come join me with Shakespeare some weekend, come check out Two Households in Fair Corona on Facebook.
Next, let's go to Vicky.
Hello, I'm Vicki Dykes. I'm an actor in Central Alberta. Tonight I am reading Old Man, Dr. Singh, Stocky Fella, and Bearded Fella.
And next, Roxane. Roxane, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm muted. Roxane Armstrong. I'm an actor from Central Alberta. Excited to be back at Table Read Tuesdays. Tonight I am reading a whole schwack of characters.
And later we'll be joined by Morgan Toll, who is also a voice actor. I'm Erin Lillis. I am a voice actor and most known for the No Sleep podcast work that I do in horror. And tonight I'm going to be playing Gus, aka Sweet Tooth. So without further ado, let's begin our read of Sweet Tooth episode 101. And now, Kat, you are muted.
There we go.
There we go.
Can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
All right. Sweet Tooth, episode 101, Out of the Deep Woods, written by Jim Mickle, based on the comic book by Jeff Lemire. Network Drafts 2, May 9th, 2018. Teaser. Interior hospital lobby day. Close on a chocolate bar and a hospital vending machine. Aditya Singh, an East Indian nurse, mid-30s, leans against the machine, loosens a button, stares through the glass at the shiny yellow wrapper, feeling the weight of the world. A big man, 30s, with a chiseled face and a knee brace, limps by on a pair of crutches. The men share a look. Just the two of them in this empty lobby. A weathered voice narrates.
The great crumble happened slowly, and then all at once.
Quick cuts follow. The exterior of a suburban neighborhood, morning, days before. Singh, briefcase, kisses his bathrobe wife, Ronnie, goodbye at the front door.
Don't.
Oh, forget the turkey. I know.
Exterior hospital parking lot, morning. Singh makes his way to the hospital entrance, waves to a colleague, jots down on a sticky, turkey. Interior Singh's office, day. A collage of patients' faces jump cut together. Mostly kids with a fever, runny noses, red eyes, chicken pox. A single mom in her 30s taking the brunt of a chest cold. Singh makes notes, smiles warmly as the doctor examines. Interior Singh's living room, night. Singh and Ronnie absent-mindedly watch a hockey game on their couch. An injured player for the local team is being carted off the ice. Tommy Jeopard, the big man from the hospital. Singh remembers something.
Damn it.
You forgot, didn't you?
I'll get it tomorrow.
Exterior suburban neighborhood, morning. Front door kiss. Exterior hospital parking lot, morning. Parking lot wave. Interior Singh's waiting room, morning. Singh pats a young boy with the sniffles on his way out the office when he spots single mom. Back again. Her left eyelid twitches uncontrollably. Interior Singh's office, morning. He takes single mom's temperature as the doctor draws her blood. Her eye continues to twitch. Singh sees that the pinky finger on her left hand also has started to twitch. Doctor shares a concerned look with Singh. Interior supermarket, day. Singh carries a handbasket with a plump turkey in it. Stressed out families stream by, sneezing, coughing. He checks the empty shelves in the pharmacy aisle. The sound of panicked voices behind him as a sick man stumbles through the crowd of shoppers, hands twitching.
When nature makes up her mind, well, she can be a stubborn mistress.
The man collapses to the tiled floor, taking out a display. Singh tries unsuccessfully to revive the convulsing man. Exterior hospital parking lot, morning. Singh jogs across the parking lot. Ambulances crisscross through a stream of people funneling at the entrance. Singh lowers his head and tunnels through the crowd, covering his mouth. Interior Singh's office, day. Single mom is now inside a sterile glass booth, eyes and pinkies twitching. Little toes twitching now too, tethered to machines that pulse and blink as she loses consciousness. Singh watches half a dozen scientists huddle around the doctor, lost in heated debates and rattled nerves. Fast cuts, syringes, test tubes, pills of all shapes, all sizes, microscopes, spinning centrifuges. Interior hospital hallway, day. Singh steps out to find personnel in hazmat suits. A puzzled doctor draws out flu strain diagrams on the hospital wall. Concerned nurses huddle around a TV where the news ticker reads H5G9 flu pandemic. The head of the Center for Disease Control announces,
It is here, it is now, and if you don't pray, now might be a good time to start.
Interior Singh's bathroom, night. Singh and Ronnie shower together. Clinical, scrubbing each other with antibacterial soap. Never enough soap.
From now on, you stay home.
From work?
From everywhere.
Promise me you will too.
Singh doesn't answer, just scrubs.
Well, for Aditya Singh, there would never be a more important time in his career. Little did he know, it wouldn't matter.
Interior Singh's living room, morning. Singh awakens with a jolt, passed out over a pile of textbooks, medical journals. Sunlight burns a beam of dust notes through the duct-taped windows. He orients himself, TV on mute in the corner, people in panic under an eerie silence. Breaking news, outbreaks in Ohio.
Rainey?
He checks their bed. It's empty. Interior Singh's bathroom, continuous. Singh opens the bathroom door, stops when he sees that Rani is seated on the edge of the tub, her left eyelid twitching, fear in her eyes.
Oh, come with me.
Interior Singh's house, moments later. Their garage door opens to reveal a stampede of ambulances blare through the neighborhood. Frightened neighbors pack belongings into cars. Police in hazmat hoods try to get a shrieking woman into a military bus against her will. 21st century chaos. Exterior road to hospital, moments later. Singh races to the hospital, narrowly avoiding several accidents in a stream of emergency and military vehicles. Helicopters fill the sky so thick two crash into each other in the distance and spiral down to earth like drunk bugs. Exterior hospital parking lot, moments later. Singh slams his Volvo onto the curb and carries Rani through a throng of frenzied people clamoring to get in.
She's sick. Get back. She's contagious.
He uses her to fend people off. Interior hospital doors close on Singh. Bedhead, shirt torn, wife in his arms. He soothes her with loving words, then sees her pinky finger is now starting to convulse. His heavy eyes. Floors scroll by. Ding, 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 ding. Interior hospital later. We're back in the opening scene. All doors sealed in plastic and taped shut. Singh leans on the vending machine, staring at Tommy Jeopard and his pair of crutches. Then a frail voice from a crack in the stairwell door.
Are you a doctor?
Singh realizes she means him. He's not, but he nods anyways.
I need you to see something.
Interior maternity ward, moments later. She slices through the plastic and leads Singh downstairs to the nursery. People gather in the halls, but no panic. Parents, nurses, the priest. The mood is lighter here, calmer. She clears a path for him to the nursery observation window, and Singh stops in his tracks when he sees what's there. Inside, cribs are filled with newborns, but something is odd. A tiny baby hand with webbed fingers pokes out of one crib. A large rabbit ear dangles out of another. Baby animal noises echo inside like a sleeping barnyard.
Some stories start at the beginning. Ours begins here.
Sing peers in to see the head nurse rocking a newborn to sleep. She turns to show him in full, and we see a baby dog boy in her arms. 80% human newborn with a black button nose and teeny tiny claws on his toes. And a floppy tail wags between his legs as he snores peacefully. Sing, speechless, then blurts out what everyone is thinking.
What the fuck?
And we smash cut to the titles. Sweet Tooth. Act 1. Exterior deep woods morning. Soaring aerial shots of an endless, pristine forest. Far below, a needle in a haystack. A man digs a hole in the forest floor. Father in his late 30s. Gangly, glasses. A small tube television sits on a tree stump in the forest, rigged to a car battery. News reports play silently. Hospitals, nurseries, a zoo, crowds, doctors, fences, a wall, a politician at a podium. Father throws the TV in the hole, buries it.
Far away from the commotion and chaos of the crumbling cities, one man disappeared into the wilderness with the thing that mattered to him most.
Now we see the man has a tiny baby strapped in a harness.
And he called that thing Gus.
But like the newborns in the nursery, Gus is different. Human in every way except for 2 small bumps that poke out from his forehead and a pair of elongated ears that dangle like fuzzy petals. Branches sway above, bathing Gus's happy little face in autumn leaves. Exterior deep woods day. Father hikes with a comically large pile of bags and belongings on his back. Baby son strapped to his chest. They arrive at an old abandoned cabin swallowed up by the forest. Vacant and overgrown. This will do. A visual medley of Father and Gus. Rehabbing the cabin. Father struggles to dig a garden. Transports water from a stream, splashing everywhere. Chops firewood awkwardly. Getting the hang of the survivalist life. Exterior fence dusk. Father uses a coat hanger to mend a hole in a government-grade fence, 10 feet high and stretching to infinity. A large sign tells us we're in the Nebraska Wilderness Sanctuary. Forest on Father's side, a road and plains on the other. An oblivious baby Gus crawls toward a rattlesnake. Father catches a glimpse, and as the serpent coils to pounce, he throws himself in front of Gus and backs the child away. Father is horrified. Baby Gus laughs through the whole thing. Exterior cabin porch night. By candlelight, Father handwrites a book from memory, The Velveteen Rabbit by Father. He rocks baby Gus to sleep in his spare tire. He's enclosed a makeshift cradle with chicken wire, snake-proof. Gus's tiny human hand clutches Father's large calloused finger, then Gus's first words.
Papa.
Father's conflicted eyes on the child, then tears of joy.
Hubba. You, Gus, me, hubba.
In the great distance, a large explosion flares up silently from some far-off event. Father clocks it. Gus doesn't even notice. Father blows out the candle as, interior cabin morning, a few years later, 4-year-old Gus blows out 4 birthday candles. His ears bigger. The bumps on his forehead now hardened nubs. Gus opens a gift wrapped in birch bark. Kids' books, including Papa's version of several classics. Gus pushes a button on a book shaped like a cow, and it moos at him electronically. He throws the book and hides behind a chair. The book moos again, and Gus trembles as Father tries to console him. Exterior maple tree day. Father notches Gus's height in the maple tree trunk as Gus catches trickling maple sap from a spout, sweet and delicious. Later, Father boils the sap over a roaring fire, condensing it down into maple syrup. Gus tastes the final product. Magic. A distant rumble sounds, and a petrified Gus clutches his father's legs in terror. Father covers Gus's oversized ears to block out the deafening noise.
It's just a bird.
Gus looks up to see a Cessna airplane soar over the trees.
Look at me.
Gus does, and we see what he sees. Father, muted by his heavy hands, speaking so Gus can read his lips under the engine's rumble.
It's a bird. A big, big bird, okay?
Gus nods, still scared, as leaflets of paper float down through the branches as Gus hides under massive tree roots. Father catches one. It's a notice for something called the Preserve, a safe place for hybrids, decorated with clip art of happy human-animal children. Father digests, looks at the boy cowering under the roots. With a heavy heart, he throws the flyer into the fire. Then notices a black smoke billowing high above the trees, a sign for any and all to see. Father puts out the fire.
From now on, no more fires during the day.
Exterior forest pond day. Father fishes from the banks next to a homemade duck hut.
You're gonna scare the fish.
No, I'm not.
Gus tries to hop from one half-submerged pond rock to another, crossing the large pond in one straight shortcut.
If I hear a growl,
I will duck.
Gus makes it to the first rock, teeters.
if I hear a voice,
I will run.
Gus hops to the neck rock.
if I see a human,
Gus gauges the distance to the next rock. Can he make it?
I will hide.
With that, he leaps and comes up well short. Splash! Wary ducks take off in a bluster of honks, honks, as Gus flails about the pond. Father lets him flounder for a bit, and then
stand up.
Gus does, realizes he's in waist-deep water.
Now try again.
Pre-lap. Gus shrieks with delight. Exterior hill day, winter. He bursts through falling glitter, sledding down a massive hill with Father, wrapped in blankets, big ears flapping. With a thunk, Father and son splat into a mound of snow, and the sled shoots off on its own, coming to rest next to a man-sized hole in the perimeter fence. Father's laughter cuts out. Gus starts for the fence to retrieve the sled, but Father grabs him and pulls him back.
No, don't go near the fence.
I just
What did I tell you about it?
don't cross it.
Never cross it. Don't even go near it. Now get inside.
I want to go again.
Maybe tomorrow. Now run.
He watches Gus scamper back home. Exterior fence, dusk. Father uses heavy gauge wire to repair the hole in the fence. Breath heavy, battered fingers exposed to elements, alert eyes on the lookout.
I did the right thing. I did the right thing. Tell me I did the right thing.
A dim lamp hangs on a work light. The wind blows it out as interior cabin morning, a few years later, 7-year-old Gus blows out 7 birthday candles. It's now clear that his forehead nubs are miniature antlers, his big ears now covered in a soft fur. We didn't know before, we do now. Gus is part deer. A gift wrapped in birch bark, a stuffed animal Father made out of an old pair of jeans.
Horse,
Father, now sporting a full beard, shakes his head no.
pig,
Nope.
a cat,
Father pushes a button on the animal soundbook and it woofs.
dog.
Bingo. Father puts on his best throaty woof. Gus cannot contain his excitement.
What are you going to name it?
Thinks long and hard. And then it comes to him in a wave of ingenuity.
I'll name him Dog.
Father bites his tongue as
Swimming's no good. I don't seem to care for it.
exterior orchard day, a Crayola landscape. Spring blossoms blanket a cherry tree with whites and pinks. Gus lounges on a branch, stumble reading The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Bubba. Dog listens at his feet.
Oh, shucks. baby, you want to see your mother, I reckon. Yes, I do want to see my mother. And you would too if you had one. I ain't any more baby than you are.
Gus sniffs the air and stops reading. Close on his nose, twitching and searching for something on the wind. A scent. A distant twig snips. His big ears swivel. He's not alone. Far off, a small herd of deer graze in the field, a doe and 3 fawn. Gus clocks them as a doe, as if sensing some primordial connection, lifts her head and stares right back. Gus touches his little antlers, close on the deer, her hoofs. Gus looks at his own hands, his fingers. Then a woman's voice whispers, barely audible on the breeze. Gus. The leaves around him sway, and then gust. The wind picks up. A familiar growl in the sky. The growl. Gus remembers a rule.
Duck.
He grabs dog and drops from the tree. The sky darkens and leaves tumble past. He peeks through the trembling fingers to see the horizon is a writhing gray mass. Clouds race toward him. The air thick with rain. A cone-shaped form spins together in the distant sky. A tornado. Gus grabs dog and he blurts out a feral yell, sprinting in the other direction, leaping bushes and fallen branches. He knows these trees like the back of his hand. It's exhilarating to see, a mix of animal and human grace. Exterior forest pond continuous. Gus bounds across the pond rocks. 1, 2, splash. He doesn't make the 3rd rock, so he flails ashore. Exterior cabin porch moments later. Gus sprints to the cabin to find Father bracing against the wind, boarding up windows with tree branches.
Bathtub! Bathtub!
Father catches Gus before he makes the front door. Gus squirms, but Father holds him tight.
Stop.
The rain breaks through the trees and pelts the garden, the yard, the cabin, wind in their hair.
Quit rooching.
I'm scared.
I know you are, but I'm here. I gotcha.
Father holds Gus tight and steps off the porch into the storm. Gus trembles as the sky rumbles.
You feel that? It's Mother Nature, washing everything clean.
Gus settles just a little, still in panic mode.
Respect her, but don't fear her, Gus.
He stands in the yard, rain soaking them both. Gus shivers, but Father turns him to face the weather, holding his son up like an offering. Slowly, Gus smiles. Moments later, in slow motion, Gus runs in happy kid circles around his father, hopping, prancing, bounding through rain. Ears like airplane wings, bare feet striking puddles like atom bombs. Gus catches his breath in ankle-deep mud, then.
Can we live on a raft in a river like Huck?
Who?
You, me, and dog.
There are no rivers here, Gus. You know that.
What about out there?
He points beyond the fence.
I told you we can't go out there.
Why not?
Because I said so.
You said when I'm old enough you'll tell me.
I know what I said.
So?
So what?
I'm 7. So?
Father is torn, then.
So we better get you cleaned up. We need those ears to hear every word of it.
Gus's face lights up. Interior cabin dusk. Rain pelts the cabin. Father pours a bucket of hot water into a tin bathtub. The steam gives the cabin a thick, swirling atmosphere. Gus, up to his armpits in bathwater, face attentive. Father puts wine corks on Gus's antler tips to avoid a bath accident, then holds up a jar. There's an apple inside, soft and bruised, crawling with ants, hundreds, if not thousands.
Once upon a time, bad people ruled the earth.
Push in on the apple, like a tiny planet overrun by tinier hordes. Millions of insect legs stomping on red apple skin. Gus's big googly eyes through the jar glass.
Doing what they wanted, taking as they pleased, just like those ants.
Gus looks up and sees he's surrounded by bath steam, pulsing and flickering with the fireplace glow. Shadows moving through the steam, almost resembling ants, were sliding into Gus's imagination.
They were brutal things, dangerous to everyone around him.
Gus tries to blink it away, but the shadows in the steam seem to grow, forming upright shapes.
Self-destructive. Where they walked, hate and death followed.
They seem to march in a circle around Gus, getting bigger, closing in. Gus scrunches down the water to hide.
And God was the only thing brave enough to wipe them out. She drowned and burned and shook them off, as many as she could, until a miracle happened.
The shapes are stomped out in the steam, one by one with a warm amber glow, caressing Gus's cheeks. Around the bathtub, small figures emerge in the steam, part children, part animal.
Your kind. They called them hybrids.
Gus's face relaxes, calmed by the faint presence of others like him. He reaches out, almost touches them in the mist.
No one knows where they came from or how. Some worshipped you, some studied you, but the bad people feared you.
The steam darkens, turning gray as large shapes pounce on the hybrids in the steam. Gus splashes as the shadows writhe in the air around him, biting, tearing, terrifying visual on all sides.
There were less of them now, but they were meaner, angrier. Fear brought out the worst in them.
Suddenly, all figures burst like black fireworks in the steam.
So God called your kind back home and set fire to the rest of the earth. Now it burns forever.
Gus, looking all around for Father in the flickering clouds, glimpses of the angry shapes, hidden in steam, twisted shapes, and evil eyes.
But the bad people are still out there, Gus, in the flames, waiting. And it's my job to make sure they never get in.
Father's hand in the steam touches Gus's shoulder softly. Gus looks up and the steam is thinned out. The steam figures are gone. His imagination yields to reality. Father scrubs.
It's your job to live a full life, to be happy, to be kind, to love your father and yourself and the forest and the birds and the squirrels and the rabbits and dog.
Gus cuts him off.
Are there others like me?
No, I'm afraid there aren't.
Gus looks at his rippled reflection in the water.
You're the last one, buddy. That's why I brought you here. Because you're too special to be out there in the flames. And it's a lot more fun just the two of us.
Gus's big, soulful eyes, trying to make sense of all of this.
How come it's just the two of us?
Gus, trying to make sense of something.
Huck don't have a mother. Tom got Aunt Polly.
And you've got me.
Gus, still not satisfied.
I saw her today.
Who?
Mama.
Father's hand stopped scrubbing.
She was pretty, but she didn't have nubbins like me.
That wasn't your mother, Gus.
I could feel her.
That's not how it works.
But you didn't see her.
Gus.
She was in the field and
Gus. That wasn't her.
how do you know?
Because your mother's gone, Gus. That's how I know.
Gus, lower lip trembling. Father gets up and leaves the bathroom. Gus's heavy eyes on the jar writhing with hungry ants. Exterior cabin night. The moon floats above trees, recovering from the storm. Interior cabin night. Come in on the dark cabin. A bunk bed against the wall. Gus on top, awake. Father's story alive in his mind. The creak from below, and Father rolls out of bed and pulls something from under his bed. A small metal box. He gazes wistfully at what's inside. He pulls out a lanyard with what looks like an ID badge. Strange diagrams on napkins. Trinkets. A few photos. Father's eyes tremble. He pulls out a single match and builds up the resolve to strike it. Staring at the flame as it glows on the contents of the box. About to erase the memories of what's inside. But he can't. He lets the match burn itself out, down to the nub, then tucks the belongings back inside and shuts the lid tight. He grabs a shovel and quietly heads outside. Exterior tree-lined night. Father digs a hole near the tree line, burying that box by the light of the moon. He covers it and pats the fresh soil, wiping away the tracks of his former life. End Act 1. Act 2. Interior cabin morning, a few years later. 10-year-old Gus blows out 10 birthday candles. His antlers are larger and beginning to branch. This year's gift, a homemade slingshot. Gus lights up. Exterior maple tree later. Maple sap drips. Dog sits on the sled, faded and tattered, showing his age. Bzzzt! An acorn whizzes through the air. Missing dog. Then another. Gus was clearly born with 0 marksman skills. Exterior garden later. Father rips out the overwintered weeds as pesky blackbirds dive bomb the pea trellis. He shoos them away. Gus hides in the bushes, Rambo style, firing corn kernels at the birds. Fire, miss, fire, miss, fire. Father yelps.
Mother, was that gift a mistake?
He calls out to the woods. Gus sheepishly sinks back into the trees, scampering off while Father rubs his arm. Exterior forest pond later. Ducklings crawl over Gus's feet as he takes big monster steps in Father's massive boot prints. Fee, fi, ho, bum, through the mud. He's now managed to get the elastic off the slingshot and onto his antlers. He contorts himself into a pretzel, firing pawn rocks from his antler catapult high up in the air, and waits for the inevitable little splash in the pond. Perfectly good way to spend an afternoon. Searching for a new rock, he stops. A hoof print in the fresh mud, leading up the bank and into the bushes.
Mama.
Gus's eyes follow the tracks, and then Gus follows them. Exterior thick forest, moments later. Ducklings scatter as Gus pushes through the thick overgrowth. Ahead of him, deer tracks snake through the forest. He sniffs the air and ears perk up to soak in the forest sounds, and then he sees the fence. An old tree has fallen over and broken open a section of fence big enough for an animal to squeeze through, and the deer tracks go right through the opening. Gus, deep breath, puts the slingshot back together and pushes on till he's right at the opening. To exterior, the great outside continues. His toe on the invisible line between safety and danger. He scans the open land before him. No deer. His ears rotate like little satellites. Just the sound of the wind in the grass. He blinks and then takes a step forward. Nothing changes. It's like there's no difference between either side of the fence. He musters up the courage to take another step. The little ducklings follow dutifully. And then he hears it. A growl, deep in the canyons and mountains beyond, his ears picking up all the little things humans can't hear. Actually the sound of a car engine, but to Gus it's a
Growl. Duck.
but he's too scared to move, too panicked. Fearful eyes, little heart pounding in his chest, and ducklings chirping at his feet. As the growl swells, Gus turns to flee and runs right into a large figure. His father, standing like a totem, mortified. Exterior thick forest day. Father carries Gus under his arm, tearing through the brush, repeating over and over.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? What did I tell you?
I could hear them.
What did I tell you?
I thought it was her.
I told you she's gone.
Exterior pasture day. They march through a field of wildflowers. Father stumbling, Gus sobbing.
I heard a growl. Far away, getting closer.
It's my fault. I told you not to be afraid. I taught you not to. I thought I could trust you.
You can.
We need to trust each other.
Gus wriggles and backs away.
I don't trust you. You don't tell me everything. You think I'm too little.
You are too little. You've just proved it.
Gus's face falls. He stomps away to the cabin, leaving Father alone in the field. Exterior cabin continues. Father shuffles through the overgrown garden, reaches the cabin steps. He can hear Gus inside, crying. As he's about to go inside, he hears the sound of a faint voice coming from far away. A man's voice. The crying inside stops. Gus heard it too. Father scans a port for something, thinking on his feet. Exterior yard, continuous. Father jogs into the clearing, head on a swivel, scanning the trees, the pasture, the horizon for sign of a young black man standing beyond the fence, a good 50 yards away, hands up, palms open, beard, scarf, wrapped in blankets. Hard to read as a person from afar. Father raises a broom, points it at the man. From this distance, it looks like a gun, so Father hopes. He hears Gus coming down the path to his right. Father hisses, throwing his words to the dirt.
Gus, stay back.
Gus freezes. From where the man stands, he can't see Gus. The man calls out into the large space between them.
Afternoon.
Don't come any closer.
You mind lowering the gun?
It worked. Father gulps down air, tries to look strong.
Feel better if I didn't.
I'm just looking for someone.
Well, they're not here. Better look someplace else.
The man takes in the remote surroundings.
How long you been here?
Father debates answering that, allows a quick glance to Gus. He doesn't know how to respond.
I realize how this looks, but I give you my word I had no idea your camp was here.
Who said I had a camp?
Lucky guess. My sister went off in these woods a week and a half ago. I want to know she made it through.
She didn't come through here.
Sure?
Very. You should get back on the road before it gets dark.
Roads ain't exactly safe these days. You haven't gotten out much lately, huh? She's with a couple, 2 adults, 2 kids.
Gus's ears perk up at that. Father's too. Gus tries to get a look at the man. Father hisses again.
Move.
Does the man see Gus? Father tries to get his attention.
What's it like out there?
Sucks. I haven't seen anyone besides you in 2 days.
I haven't seen anyone since it started. What about the sick?
No cure yet. People think the hybrids caused it.
Maybe it caused them.
Maybe. Any case, ain't many of us left.
Gus takes another step forward to try and sneak a peek at him.
Though if you're out here alone, isolated and such, you probably aren't into company, are you?
Into company?
Alone?
Father catches Gus, moving discreetly, but a whole lot more than he's comfortable with. He raises his voice to mask his nerves.
I've lived here alone, by myself, for 9 years, 17 weeks, and 3 days.
Gus shoots Father a look. Father ignores it. Gus takes another tiny baby step around the foliage and Father clenches his jaw.
You say she had kids with her?
Boy and a girl.
Gus moves ever so slowly.
Were they,
He leaves the last bit hanging.
Were they what?
you know,
Gus's antlers catch in a low branch. Father whispers,
stop it.
Wouldn't you like to know?
Gus tilts his head a few degrees to unsnag his antlers, and the branch bounces back, shaking the leaves. Not super obvious to an observer, but more than a wind gust. Father tries to appear unfazed, but he's rattled. He shifts his eyes back to the field. The young man is gone. The spot where he stood is empty, like he was never there. Father calls out, marches toward the fence. Frightened eyes scan the place beyond the fence, but there's no sign of the man. And then he spots around the bend a red ribbon tied to the fence from the outside, like a marker. Father rips it down, then sees the whole fence has red ribbons tied every 30 yards or so. Gus's tiny voice breaks the silence,
He said there were kids.
but Father doesn't respond. He falls to his knees. Paranoia sets in.
Gus, son, get in.
Interior cabin day, a framed map on the wall, pinpointing every important place in the forest. Father tilts it up on a hinge to reveal a hidden cubby built into the wall behind it, sized and built for Gus.
I don't want to.
Father's frazzled, and it shows.
I said get in the cubby.
It's a hole.
It's not a hole. It's a. You know how foxes hide out during the day in their own fox house in the ground?
Father pulls up a floorboard and snaps open a pelican case. Gus and we are confused by it.
Who was he?
A bad person.
Gus's ears droop.
Maybe the kids were like me?
Maybe. Maybe there were no kids, and he just said what he thought I wanted to hear.
Why did you say you lived alone?
Father sighs. Not the time for this conversation.
To protect you.
Father pulls a loaded syringe from the case, sticks it onto the end of a broom handle, uses a red ribbon to secure it tight.
Sometimes it's okay to bend the truth if it helps someone you love. Understand?
Gus tries to make sense of it, but he starts to tear up.
I'm scared.
I know. But I promise you, if you hide in the cubby and be very quiet, I'll be back before the sun goes to bed. And everything will be just like it was before.
Father puts the case back in the floor. Gus eyes the hole.
You can take your syrup.
That gets Gus's attention. We cut to the interior cubby day. Gus is finally in the cubby, nursing his maple syrup, an old hourglass at his feet. The map goes back into place. Father's eyes peer in the slats.
Remember what I said?
It's okay to lie?
That's what you took from that conversation? I said be quiet and don't come out till you hear from me.
Father takes a tip off the long arm syringe like a weapon.
I love you, Gus.
He slips his pinky through the wall and Gus squeezes it.
And you're not too little. Stay big for me.
Before Gus can respond, the finger is gone. Front door opens, slams shut. Lock turns, silence. Little Gus, all alone. End of Act 2. Act 3. Exterior cabin, dusk. The Nebraska sun begins its descent. The cabin cowers beneath the trees on all sides. The front two windows, like beady eyes, staring out at empty woods, fence, empty landscape beyond. No sign of father. Interior cubby later. The hourglass finishes around and Gus flips it over. Jar of maple syrup almost empty. Gus about to drift off into a sugar crash sleep. The sound of the door opening somewhere in the cabin. Gus catches his breath. Footsteps, hard and clipped. Gus peeks through the slat to see something step into the living room. The footsteps get closer, right up to the wall. Then, boom! Gus flings the map door open and cocks back his slingshot, points straight into the face of a white-tailed deer. No antlers, a doe. She just wandered into the cabin like she got lost in the forest. Her tail flickers. Gus opens his eyes to see the deer looking back at him, unafraid, curious, steam from his warm, wet nostrils. Slowly, Gus lowers his slingshot and builds up his courage to reach out his tiny little hands to touch the large cervid animal, like a kid petting a dog for the first time, timid but enchanted. The deer's ears perk up, soaking in the sounds of the cabin. Gus's breath, his heartbeat. Gus's human fingers stroke the doe's soft pelt. She shows no fear and almost seems to relish the connection. Gag! A hideous scream rings out from the deep woods. Human, male. Blackbirds take flight. The deer flinches. Gus throws himself back into the safety of the cubby while the deer scatters in fear. Hooves scramble on hardwood. She hurls herself through the front window, an explosion of glass and fur. Poor deer. The distant scream still rings out. Then it cuts short. Gus shakes, waiting for the next shoe to drop. Exterior porch, moments later. Gus undoes the lock. Antlers slowly peek out the doorway, followed by wide eyes. He tiptoes onto the porch. Sprinkles of glass and fur create a path leading off the porch into the woods. No sign of the deer or father.
Papa?
A gust of wind, and the trees seem to come to life, as if answering him, swaying and blowing all around. Gus stands his ground, frightened, a little boy dwarfed by the epic forest. His ears perk up, hypersensitive, tracking every sound in the forest, every branch shake, every leaf bend. Something is coming closer. He raises his slingshot at whatever it is. The wind brings a soft sound of footsteps, staggered. Hard to decipher a pattern. Gus aims a slingshot right at the footsteps. Push in on the brave little deer boy, standing his ground, and then his ears drop submissively, and his eyes well up. Father steps through the foliage, looking just like he saw held. Broom in his hand, no syringe. Gus wraps his arms around Father's legs.
Gus,
I thought she took you.
Father crouches and holds Gus close, practically swallowing the boy in his arms.
I heard a scream.
I know.
I didn't like it.
I didn't either. But you're safe now. You're safe, Gus. You're safe.
He nuzzles Gus even closer.
Papa?
He pulls back to see what Gus is looking at. Father's pinky finger. It's trembling uncontrollably, along with his eyelids. A realization on Father's weakened face. Then he collapses at Gus's feet, unconscious. Exterior garden dusk. Gus drags Father's motionless body through the garden path. Exterior cabin porch dusk. He pulls Father up the porch steps, inch by inch. Interior cabin dusk. Gus rolls Father into bed, then catches his breath. Father mutters unintelligible words to himself, still out cold. His little fingers quivering, his eyelids twitching like a hummingbird's wings. Gus pulls a sheet over him. Later, Gus pushes a bowl of steaming hot soup and a jar of water toward Father. Father doesn't flinch or wake. It just sits there. Interior cabin night. That night, Gus sits by the foot of his bed dutifully, sketching in one of his books, watching Father's toss and turn in a fitful sleep, whispering, his food untouched. Gus hears snippets of Father's words. Safe, good boy, doesn't need to know. Gus sketches, the whispers building louder in his ears until, interior cabin morning, Gus snaps awake in the top bunk, morning sun streaming in.
You did this?
Gus sees Father sitting up below him, the back of his head, wheezing, trembling something awful. Gus's sketch in his hands, a crude but admirable drawing of the white-tailed deer from yesterday.
She was like me, Gus.
He stares at the window, focusing on nothing.
She was better than me. Selfless in a way I could only. She smelled like peaches.
Gus leans in from the top bunk.
I have regrets, Gus. But the biggest is that you'll never know her. You'll sense her. You may feel her when you're alone. The short time I spent with her was...
He gets lost in a memory.
She would be proud of you. You were her joy. You were her life. You always will be.
He tries to stop his trembling hand, but can't.
What happened?
Life. We were separated in a crowd. I had you and she. We had a meeting point. We had agreed to wait 3 days for each other. I waited 2 weeks. It wasn't safe for you, and so I brought you here.
Gus climbs down to see him eye to eye.
What was her name?
We see Father's face for the first time, gaunt, pale, hollow.
Peaches. I called her Peaches.
Gus sorts through all the questions he has in his mind.
When you get better, we can look for her.
But what don't we do?
Cross the fence?
Ever?
Never ever.
Swear.
He reaches out a trembling pinky. Gus locks his pinky onto his father's. They shake.
Pinky swear.
Oh, sorry.
It's a big world. Remember, that fence doesn't just keep the world out. It keeps you in.
Gus's hope dissipates.
I'm tired, Gus. You know what could wake me up?
The boy shakes his head, ears gently swaying.
Breakfast. Will you make us some?
But you make the breakfast.
And you watch me. So you know how. What do I start with?
A plate?
What food?
Eggs?
See that? Smarter than you look.
He forces a grin, Gus weighing the odds.
Then you'll tell me more?
Then I'll tell you everything.
Gus's concern turning to hope. Exterior Forest Pond morning. Gus stands at the banks, eyes upon rocks it will take to make it across the pond. An audience of ducklings gather. He leaps onto the first rock. Easy. He jumps to the second. No problem. Gathers himself, then flings himself to the third and sticks the landing. Ducks prattle on approvingly.
Papa!
Interior cabin moments later. Gus sprints toward the house, hands full of duck eggs.
Papa!
He bounds up the porch steps, 2 at a time.
Papa, I did it!
He bursts in through the door.
I crossed the.
But father is not in the bunk bed. The blankets are splayed. Gus drops the eggs on the floor. Father is in his rocking chair. Back to Gus, asleep.
Papa?
But there's no answer. Father is still, no trembling. Gus approaches the rocking chair and sees a metal trinket thing in father's hands. A tiny key, small in father's palm, a little heart etched onto it. Gus has no idea what to make of this foreign object. His big, innocent eyes, so many questions, no one to ask. He takes a seat in his little chair next to father. He swings his legs and dips his thumb in a jar of syrup and sucks on his thumb in a long, still silence. Fade out. End of Act 3. And we'll take
And
intermission.
there, we'll take an intermission. Thank you. We'll come back in, let's say, it's 7 now, 7 o'clock, whatever your times is. Let's come back at 7:10. 10 minutes.
Sounds good. I saw you got a sweater too. Feel like I need a blanket for a bedtime story. Such a cute little story.
And you still hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
My computer's telling me it's switching something.
We're all back early.
Yep.
Let's just go. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
And thank you for everyone for covering for Morgan.
All right. Are we all ready to start again now?
Yeah, I am. I shouldn't speak for everyone.
Okay. Let's see. Back onto the script. Okay. On to Act 4. Exterior deep woods winter. Winter brings snow. Gus chops firewood, wearing father's red flannel shirt. He's a little taller, a little more grown up. His antlers are almost fully formed, his ears mostly fur.
And by his 12th winter, the boy was now the man of the house, though the weight of growing up took its toll.
Gus waves to his father through the frosted window. Exterior hill later. Gus sleds by himself. Dog, now tattered and missing some fluff, rides along.
With hard work comes harder play.
Gus tears down the hill, ears flapping in the cold wind. He hits a bump and the sled spins out, tossing Gus in the snow as it sails away from him and slams into the fence. The sled comes to rest just a hair's breadth from the great outside. Gus gulps.
Dog, stay here.
Dog watches from the snowbank as Gus approaches the fence cautiously. He retrieves the sled, then scampers back to safe ground like a drunk crab fleeing a tsunami.
Fire!
Exterior deep woods day. Gus plays commando by himself in a field of beasts, big monsters. Gus is made out of snow like an art installation. His assault is a goofy ballet of slingshots and pine cones.
It was lonely in the deep woods, and his heart yearned for more. As his antlers grew, so did his imagination.
Gus fires his slingshot at the beasts, declaring victory as he leaps onto the last one in an explosion of glittery white. Slow motion. Gus celebrates his victory dog and a crowd of animal-human kids he's built out of snow, running in circles through his make-believe friends like a kid on a pre-crash sugar overload.
You should have saw it.
Interior cabin kitchen dusk. Gus serves up a smorgasbord of winter veggies while father listens to his son's wild tales from the rocking chair.
Bad people were everywhere. I thought they was going to take Dog, but he scared him away for good. Didn't you, Dog?
He looks at the mangy toy by the fire, and when he looks back, we see the table is almost completely empty. The feast was in his head. It's just a big plate with a few small scraps of food and a dozen beans. An empty plate in front of father, who isn't there at all. It's just a scarecrow Gus is dressed in father's clothes and set in the rocking chair.
But sometimes all a boy has is his own imagination.
Exterior garden morning, spring. Open on a large mound of dirt and rocks by the tree line, marked by a cross made of branches. Father's glasses mounted ceremoniously to the cross.
Rabbit, you're on garden duty.
Gus strolls like a drill sergeant, spouting a list of chores. The garden is overgrown with thick weeds.
And don't mess it up like last time. We need it clear and ready to plant, or there won't be any carrots this summer.
His audience is a cadre of animal kids Gus has crafted from branches and twigs. Handmade ears, whiskers, tails, snouts.
Pig, you can help Rabbit. Dig and till. Use your snout if you have to.
He turns to a figure with 2 horns made out of leaves.
Goat, you need to keep the birds off the peas. We can't lose any more. I'll do the syrup and the water. Dog will keep watch. Right, dog?
He looks at the blank faces staring back at him. Dogs seen better days.
And remember, do not cross the fence.
Exterior fence day. From the omniscient fence, we see Gus pulling with all his might to get his sled loaded with supplies up the muddy hill. Gus gabs the dog, who rides stoically on the sled.
You eat too much, dog. You're getting fat like the bullfrogs. Good thing I'm big.
Gus pulls again and the sled inches up the hill.
Being big's harder than it looks. Every day the woods feel smaller. Sometimes I think they're laughing at us. Probably just at you.
He gazes out beyond the formidable chain link perimeter, slows his pace.
Don't even think about it. I promised. That means you promised.
He yanks at the sled and they continue with the uphill climb. Dog silently judging. Then Gus slips in the mud and slides back down the hill, supplies going everywhere. Exterior maple tree later. Scabbed over height markers in the bark. Dog watches Gus drill into the trunk with a rusted bit, but it breaks off in the wood. Frustrated, Gus tries unsuccessfully to dislodge it. Exterior water pipes later. Gus battles an onslaught of spraying leaks in the plumbing system, a frustrating game of water whack-a-mole. As he spackles a crack, the entire plumbing system falls apart in an eruption of busted pipe, spraying Gus in the face like a fire hose. He cries out at the spray. Exterior garden later. The animal kid stick friends stand motionless as Gus pulls at a thick weed, but it doesn't budge. He tries snipping it with Father's old blade, but the rusty tool falls apart in his hand. Gus dives on the weed, wrestling with it, but it's taller and stronger than him. The weeds are winning. Gus snorts and gnashes his teeth, falling into a ball of brambles that wrap him up tight and won't let go. He unleashes a prepubescent roar and fights his way out of their clutches and stumbles out of the overwhelming garden. He locks eyes with Dog, watching from a safe distance. Gus stomps up the steps into the house. We hear him inside, tearing the place apart. A moment later, he stomps back outside, Father's old lantern in his hands. He heaves the lantern into the patch of weeds and watches the brambles shrink and crinkle in a small patch of flames. He watches the flames glow and grow. Whoa! In a blink of an eye, the flames expand until the whole garden is a sea of golds and reds and warped heat, a sudden bonfire, casting a warm kaleidoscope into Gus's glassy eyes. Gus's breaking point. He didn't mean for any of this. He watches a weed shrivel and scream in the heat. Before he knows what he's doing, he's grabbing Rabbit and launching his stick friends into the flames. Then Goat, then Pig, then even Dog. Gus stands before what's left of his garden, lip quivering. Black smoke rises high above the treetops. Then Gus is gripped with regret and he leaps into the flames to rescue Dog, stamping out the flames.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Interior cabin later. Gus storms back into the house with Dog, smoking in his hands. He plunges the smoldering toy into a bucket of water and watches the steam rise. Dog is now tattered and singed and missing an ear. Gus plops down in the cabin mess. The tantrum is over. He's all cried out. His red eyes go to the scarecrow on the porch, and then the faded map on a wall. To something he never saw before. A little heart his father drew on the map by the tree line. Exterior tree line day. The garden smolders as Gus surveys the tree line, using the map as his guide. He lines it up and focuses on one tree, hidden by overgrowth. Gus peels back the foliage and spots a heart carved into the trunk years ago, and a carved arrow pointing down. Gus's eyes go to the dirt. We cut to the exterior tree line at dusk, and rain falls as Gus digs at the foot of the tree. He digs and digs until his shovel hits metal. Something rectangular. The box Father buried. Gus pulls it from the earth, tries to pry it open. His fingers find a heavy latch on the lid. A hole. A keyhole. No idea what that means until his fingers find the key around his neck. The engraved heart. Gus rams the key into the hole, and with a click, the lid opens. A pile of things greet Gus. To him, nonsense. A Ty Cobb baseball card, crumpled dollar bills, credit cards. Gus casts them aside like styrofoam peanuts. Phone charging cable, cocktail napkin, with funny symbols drawn on it. The ID lanyard we saw glimpses of earlier. And then a framed photo of a woman, Father's age, warm and soulful. Gus forgets everything else, hypnotized by the photo. The most beautiful thing he's ever seen. A slip of paper falls out from behind it, the flyer for the preserve that Father had thrown away. He kept it. Gus looks at the flyer, at the happy animal kids on it, the words safe and hybrid, and another word at the bottom.
Colorado?
Close in on Gus, wheels turning. Interior cabin night. Gus clears the table and lays out Father's map. He flips it over to show a map of the Midwest, locating Nebraska, then Colorado. He traces a thick line, I-76. Means very little to him. He doesn't even know what a road is. Then his fingers fall on a blue line. Water. The Platte River. It snakes from Nebraska to Colorado. Gus flips open his homemade copy of Huck Finn and sees a snaky blue diagram of the Mississippi River. Looks just like the blue line on his map. His heart goes double time. Interior cabin morning. Dog bobs up and down on a block of wood, floating in the bathtub. Gus observes, taking notes as he draws out a feverish plan on the back of his book. A small raft, made out of exterior garden day, wood. Piles of branches Gus has collected and laid out in a 4x6 rectangle. An arts and crafts project on steroids. He lashes down the wood with pieces of chain link fence. Gus ties down a milk crate with the essentials. Maple syrup, 4 sweet potatoes, 1 bottle of water, 1 slingshot, Huck Finn book, preserve flyer, more maple syrup, and a bent fork. He ties Dog to the crate. He's repaired the missing ear. Lastly, the photo of his mother in an old Ziploc bag. He touches his finger to her face.
I'm coming for you, Peaches.
Exterior wildflower field moments later. Gus pulls the raft on a sled through the field with ease. He marches forward, little chest out. Exterior fence moments later. Gus arrives at his first obstacle. How to get the raft through the fence. He stops, looks for a break in the chain link, but it's secure. He gauges the height. Too high. He inspects the surrounding area when he sees a shimmer in the grass, in a clearing in the woods, a shiny metallic rectangle, a candy bar, just like the one from the teaser, laying in the field like it just grew there on his side of the fence. Gus approaches it, nudges it with the foot. It doesn't attack. He picks it up, peels it open, sniffs the dark brown brick inside, takes a bite. Holy mother of chocolate. His first ever taste of the stuff. It's amazing. He licks his lips and takes another bite and sees another bar a dozen yards away. He scurries to it and sees another, deeper in the woods. Gus reaches to pick it up when the candy bar slides across the grass toward the fence, pulled by a string. Oh, Gus realized this is a terrible new twist just in time to see something long and skinny dart out of the trees straight toward him. Whip! A screaming arrow whizzes by at the speed of light and slams into his antlers, chipping off a small chunk and sticking straight into the earth. What the?
Told ya.
A deep, hoarse voice whoops and hollers from the woods. Gus leaps behind a fallen tree, panting, tries to stay quiet. From this vantage point, he can see a hole cut through the fence in the brush. He ducks to hide his antlers just as the stocky fellow in soiled camo steps out of the woods and retrieves the arrow. He's missing 3 fingers. He scans the trees, eyes peeled for Gus. All is quiet for a moment. Long, tense moment.
Aw, damn it.
He flinches as something tiny smacks off his hand. He picks it up. An acorn. Gus lines up his slingshot with another acorn, carefully taking aim, pulls back on the elastic, and a big hairy hand clamps onto Gus's arm from the brush. Gus turns to see a second bearded fella, crazy in his eyes.
Over where? Over here.
Gus is torn from his hiding spot, dragged by his antlers. Their cackles drown out his screams. Gus fights with every inch of his little life.
What did I tell you, huh? What did I tell you?
I ain't never seen a deer one before.
Yeah, look at his clothes. It's got a little shirt and everything.
Fidgety hands pull and tug on Gus's red flannel shirt, ripping its buttons.
My shirt now.
Oh, I found him. I get the shirt.
It ain't going to fit you. You're an extra large. That's a medium tops.
Oh, fine. I'll take the antlers.
Oh, they're my goddamn antlers. You missed it. I caught it. They're mine.
He yanks Gus away in a tight grip. Gus can barely breathe. Stocky notches an arrow in his bow, points at Gus's belly.
I'll screw you both right here. Take both your damn shirts.
Bearded pulls a samurai sword from a sheath on his back.
Oh, you better not miss or I'll slice the rest of your fingers.
Gus jabs an antler into Beard's soft belly. The man doubles over, dropping Gus. Gus tries to scamper when the sword slices through the air, just missing him.
See what you did?
Gus sees daylight and bolts from it when Stocky aims the arrow right for Gus and cocks back the bow.
I got him.
Boom! A large, loud eruption from the woods. Birds scatter. Chink! Stocky's head twitches and he pirouettes like a tired marionette as the arrow shoots straight up in the air. Time goes slow. Gus turns to see Stocky crumple to the ground in a heap. Bearded, wide-eyed, scared. Where'd that boom come from? Bearded lunges for Gus, then shink! The arrow returns to earth and sticks in Bearded's bicep like a porcupine needle.
God damn it!
He tries to pull it out as a large mountain of a man steps out of the wood, stopping Gus in his tracks, bigger and scarier than the other two, the cross between Clint Eastwood and an Easter Island rock. We recognize him as Tommy Jeppard, the injured hockey player from the opening, 12 years older. He marches forward with a slight limp, rifle in his mitts. Gus crawls backward from Jeppard, toward Bearded, who fumbles to notch a fresh arrow, caught between 2 trains coming straight at each other.
Okay, we can share them.
He loads the arrow and brings it up to face Jeppard. Boom! Jeppard fires the rifle and Gus's hypersensitive ears go blank. Sound disappears. Gus flees like he's shot out of a silent cannon. Exterior Deep Woods continues. Gus hauls ass down his sled path, fast, fleet, and nimble with that amazing knowledge of the forest, leaping bushes and ducking branches in a gorgeous display of wilderness parkour. He crosses the pond, rock to rock, whirl of wind in his ears, out of the tree line, through his garden, and into his little cabin. Interior cabin, continuous, Gus tosses a jar of a ball and rusky jacks onto the porch. He pulls a rope, and the human-sized scarecrow of his father drops from the rafters, standing guard at the window. He locks the door, slides a rig of barbed wire netting over the entryway. He crawls into the wall cubby, pulls a strand of fishing line, and the empty map frame slides back into place. Then he hears footsteps on the front porch. Gus closes his eyes, and he holds his breath. End of Act 4. Act 5. Interior cabin day, Gus's POV. Through the slats, little frightened eyes, alert ears, footsteps on the porch, limping, kicking aside the jacks, big hands on the doorknob, turning but not opening. Then the door is kicked in, the lock goes flying. A huge hand squeezes in with a cable cutter, snipping the barbed wire open. Gus shudders out of sight. Jeopard stepped through the threshold. He taps a small yarn tripwire at his feet, which summons a toy wooden duck to motor its way out of the shadows, webbed feet slapping the floorboards like a little alarm system. Jeopard kicks it aside and enters, in no hurry, just paces, surveys.
You know how much your antlers are worth in a poacher?
He asks to the empty room. Gus covers his mouth. Silence.
I counted 3 points. Not bad.
He pushes a button on a book and it moves at him. Cute.
Saw a man turn in his own daughter one time so he could collect on her horns. She was a goat or something.
Gus holds his breath. Jeopard's hand appears, holding up Gus's slingshot.
You forgot this.
In a flash, Jeopard grabs Gus by the antlers and yanks him out of the wall, dragging him across the floorboards, a lion carting off a mouse.
Leave me alone!
Jeopard drops Gus in his tracks and eyeballs the thing that just spoke at him.
The hell?
Jeopard sizes up the frightened hybrid. Did he hear what he thought he heard?
Speak.
Stay back!
You talk?
Gus responds by firing a slingshot rock at that incredulous tough guy. It bounces off Jeopard's barreled chest.
Shit.
He bites down. That actually hurt.
Who taught you?
My papa did, and he's gonna be back any minute now, so you best get. He's bigger than you.
I thought you kind just barked and shit on the floor.
Stop swearing.
Jeopard pulls a photo of Gus's mother from a back pocket. Gus lunges for it, but he pulls it back.
Take it nice.
He looks at the photo. Weary eyes soften at sight of her.
That your old lady?
Put that down. I don't talk to bad people.
Jeopard holds on her, haunted by her beauty, same as Gus.
Them two in the field were bad. Most of 'em are.
He hands Gus the picture.
Shouldn't set fires in the daytime, little man. Your daddy never teach you that. Saw the smoke 20 miles off.
Gus remembers the fire from yesterday, curses himself.
I said go away.
Jeopard reaches for his rifle, and when Gus sees it, he cowers in fear behind a chair, covering his ears. Jeopard notices, puts the rifle down. He looks at the sad scarecrow of father, the empty food cabinet, jars of syrup. His eyes soften just the smallest bit.
How long you been here?
Beat. And then a little voice from behind the chair.
Go back to the fire where you belong.
Jeopard shuffles back out through the busted door. Gus watches Jeopard pause at the porch, take in something, then pick up the broom and disappear out of sight. Gus scrambles to see where he went, can't get a glimpse. Exterior water pipes moments later. Jeopard is repairing Gus's plumbing system, using the hollowed-out broom handle as a new pipe. An acorn hits him, and he turns to see Gus is now climbed up onto the cabin roof, watching from a safe distance.
What was that boom?
Your daddy didn't leave you any guns?
Jeopard pulls duct tape from his sack and seals both ends of the pipe. The leak stops, good as new. Gus impressed.
What do you want?
I come here to take you in.
Gus fires another acorn at him. Jeopard deflects it and looks at the sad layout of the place.
But I'm not gonna, you think? Talk. Got folks. I'm an asshole, but even I got limits. You know what else? Or what size shoes your daddy wore?
Gus doesn't answer, so the man limps into the house. Gus can hear rummaging around downstairs. Gus stomps on the roof.
You get out of our house right now and don't touch nothing.
Jepperd comes back and tries on father's boots.
Ah, don't worry, kid. Your daddy don't need 'em in the ground.
Gus realizes the man read through his father's fib. Jepperd tests the boots out, throws a small animal trap from his sack up onto the roof as an offering.
Trade. You know how to use that?
Gus eyes it like a mystery.
Of course you don't.
Gus sees a flock of crows clustering in on the peas again, and he bellows to scare them off. They ignore it. Jepperd clocks it as he laces up. Exterior garden continues. Jepperd takes father's glasses off the grave, shines them with his shirt.
You put them back. They don't belong to you.
Jepperd shoos a crow from Gus's pea trellis and ties the glasses to the netting.
You like that syrup so much, you ought to plant beets. Mix up your sugar intake.
He spins the glasses in the wind, the sun reflecting off the lenses like a flashing strobe light, scaring the birds. Gus is mesmerized.
Should keep 'em off the peas. If you use that scarecrow, you want to reposition him every, I don't know, few days, and otherwise they're on to you. You want to rotate those crops too. Now, peas eat up all the nitrogen, and your soil be shot in a few years. And your dad keep a tarp or anything? Well, you cover this garden in the winter. It'll keep the weeds from starting up in the spring. Warm the soil too. Oh, and buy you another few weeks to plant early in the spring. Winter's here, you could use that.
On Gus. How the hell did he know all that?
What killed your folks? They got the sick.
I told you my papa's coming back and he's going to run you away.
Jepperd smiles sadly.
He give you a name.
Gus responds by lining up another acorn in a slingshot, pointing it down at Jepperd.
I said go.
You keep that edge, sweet tooth. Just remember, good poachers don't miss.
He heads off to the woods in his new boots. Gus, filled with scattered emotions, watching the man get further away. Finally,
Where's Colorado?
Jepperd keeps walking.
It ain't close.
Which way?
Don't try it, kid. Hybrids last half a day out there. Tops.
There ain't no other hybrids. I'm the only one left.
The man slows to a stop, looks back.
That what he told you?
Gus sees a rifle again and he cowers.
There's others. Not many, but they're out there. Out there.
Gus follows where the man is pointing, past the fence.
What's in Colorado?
Nothing.
The preserve?
Peaches.
He looks at the little kid on the dilapidated roof, on the dilapidated cabin, the burned down garden. Weariness in his eyes, loneliness in Gus's.
You go out there alone, they'll have your head mounted to a wall by morning.
I ain't going nowhere with you, so don't make me.
The words erupt out of him, defiant.
So long, sweet tooth.
And with that, Jepperd heads into the woods, leaving Gus and his big ears and his little antlers on the cabin roof. Alone. Exterior roof day. Time passes up there on the roof. The dappled shadows get longer. The sun makes its way over the forest. Gus sits, swatting flies off his ears.
Papa always said the world was big.
Exterior garden later. Gus inspects the magic tape stopping the plumbing leaks, touches it gingerly. He looks at the burn pile in the garden, rubble and ash, remnants of his stick friends. He spins father's glasses.
Maybe it ain't on fire anymore. Maybe all people ain't bad.
Exterior grave day. Gus stands over the burial mound, talking to Dog, holding back a question he wants more than anything to ask.
Maybe Papa was wrong?
There's no answer, of course. Just a slight breeze in the porch chimes. The branches sway above him, just like they've done his whole life. Gus closes his eyes. The sound of the forest is overwhelming, hypnotizing, and soothing, but it provides no answers. Gus will have to make this decision himself. Smash cut to interior cabin moments later. Gus grabs his mother's photo, throws syrup jars in a bag. Interior yard continues. The glasses are gone from the garden as Gus sprints through the trees, past the smoldering ashes, past father's grave, past the duck house and the grown-up ducks, the maple tree, and years of height notches in the bark. Exterior pasture continues. All the while, Gus picks up his pace until he's full on sprint. Without stopping, he picks up dog, holds him tight, ears pinned back, nerves jangling, feet churning till he sees the fence, the great symbol of his enclosure. It's tall, taller than Gus. Should he cross it? Can he? He doesn't stop to think. He just leaps onto a low branch, scampers out and over the fence, taking a blind leap through the branches, bursting through the other side and tumbling to the great outside in a heap. He's done it. Gus has crossed the fence.
The boy broke his father's rule slowly.
He takes a big sniff of the air and then spots footprints leading away. Father's boot prints. He follows.
And then all at once.
Exterior, the great beyond, dusk. Gus cuts a skinny corridor through the tall grass, following the boot prints, running out of breath, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what he's done, the excitement and wonder and curiosity. Gus looks down at his feet, streaking across pavement for the first time, flinches when he sees his first speed limit sign. He screams at the sight of a rusted-out car and darts in a different direction, as fast as a 12-year-old deer boy can. He picks up the tracks again, streaks by a demolished windmill, overgrown and bursting with a rainbow of wild growths, its crisp white blades like a T-Rex skeleton from the future. Exterior crest of hill, continuous. Gus reaches the top of a heavy slope, jams on his feet just in time before he goes over the steep edge. He drinks in the view. Nothing but an openness he's never seen on his 12 years on Earth. Breathtaking. Mountains and canyons and a massive waterfall. The remains of the Nebraska Wilderness Center, overgrown with a kaleidoscope of foliage and vines. The boot prints have ended.
Some stories start at the beginning.
Gus searches, and then he sees far below on a road cutting through the wilderness the large figure of Jeopard limping toward the horizon.
And Gus's story begins here.
Gus bounds up to the highest point of his embankment, and he screams out at the top of his lungs,
Big man!
It echoes around the landscape like crackling thunder, louder than the booms from Jeopard's gun. Jeopard looks back at the little deer boy on the ledge, waving his gawky little arms.
Take me!
End episode 1.
Thank you, Edward. That was the end of the pilot episode of Sweet Tooth. Very well narrated by Kat, doing actions and descriptions. Vicky doing a variety of crinkly old men. Roxane doing father. And myself doing Gus the Sweet Tooth, the little boy. Guys, we forgot to do a screenshot. So let's do that real quick.
Do that.
One sec as I figure out how to do it. Hopefully I got myself looking towards the camera. Anyway, does anyone want to take a break before we discuss?
I'm good.
Well, we've had a break already. So, Kat, would you tell us what you're up to these days?
What I'm up to these days?
Yeah.
I am up
You
to...
mentioned some in the beginning, but let's reiterate.
Well, I read Shakespeare with Two Households in Fair Corona on the first, third, and fifth Saturdays, although this next weekend, we're actually reading The Thin Man because we throw in a few
Mm.
non-Shakespeare scripts every now and then. So, and then The Christmas Carol following that one.
That sounds
Before
fun.
we get back to Shakespeare. Yep. Mhm.
Vicky, I know last time I was on here, you were talking about your new improv show that you were going to do. Did you do that?
Not yet.
Okay.
We have a rehearsal tomorrow night, and Friday of the following weekend, the 1st of December, we're doing the show. And they're
Okay.
doing another show, but it'll be a different team on the second. So yeah, it's wonderful to be back doing improv.
Oh, I love what you're doing. I like how you start your lines with a little laugh or a little grump before you add a lot of character to the lines. Roxane,
Thank you.
excellent emotion as father tonight. Thank you for picking that up at the last minute.
Thank you.
What do you got going on?
I, of course, as always, am a social marketer for a health and wellness company. I have a dinner theater that goes up in the spring that I'm looking forward to, that we don't start rehearsals for a while yet. Improv. I'm doing some drop-in improv that's just for fun and learning with the company Vicky's doing stuff with, and I'm workshopping with another improv company here in town. So lots of improv. And yeah, just picking up what I can, where I can, to fill my creative soul. And
I
you, Erin, what
Oh,
are you got
thank you
going
for
on?
asking. Much the same. I do a lot of narration for the No Sleep podcast, and I have a narrated episode coming out. It's a Christmas episode. I have one story. I'm going to do another one this week for, I think, early January release. So keep an ear out. The No Sleep podcast now has a new subscription model. So sometimes I'm on the free-ish episodes, and sometimes I'm in the pay episodes only. So I don't know where I'll be until it comes out. And I just did a commercial campaign for "Don't vape while you're pregnant"
Hmm.
for one state. So that's what I have coming out. So what did everybody think of this script? First of all, have you seen the show?
Haven't seen it.
All right, so
Super cute.
I've seen the first episode, this one, and I watched it again today, and it is very enchanting, very cute and adorable. It has this real family movie kind of feel, at least this first episode. I haven't watched beyond that, but I know the tagline of this show, or the log line rather, is the that it's Mad Max meets Bambi. So from this point on, I imagine it's very apocalyptic. But I found out today, since you don't know, or maybe you do know, that it is actually based on a DC comic book.
Oh.
So I didn't see that coming, and I read the first issue of the comic today just to get a little behind the scenes on that. It is a lot darker than the actual pilot episode. The show, at least the pilot, has a family friendly feel. It's very like kind of like a soft Harry Potter, very magical. Even from the picture that Kat has behind her, you can tell it's like all these cute little adorable animal kids. The Sweet Tooth in the comic book is a very hard, angular drawing, and there's a lot of blood and guts even in issue 1. So, and it's different, but it's the same. Issue 1 of the comic book begins at the death of the father. So this whole first episode was invented, and this, I found out, was produced by Robert Downey Jr. and his wife, and they wanted it to have that childlike feel. So did that come across to you?
Yeah, and it is described as drama. So you know that if you keep watching this, it's going to get darker, definitely.
So the other thing I noticed in the comic book, the history is a little bit different. Also, the script that we read is a little bit different than the actual filmed pilot. For instance, I believe that Sweet Tooth is 9 in both the comic book and the filmed episode, whereas in the pilot they left him at 12. I think 9's better. gives him more innocence personally.
Yeah.
It has a little it reminded me a bit of the first episode of The Walking Dead, you know, the sickness takes over and all the people are sick and people who are left are headed to the woods.
Yeah,
Except a lot more, you know, nice and fluffy
and there were
animal-ish than
little
zombies.
things like in the pilot episode here, his mother's name is Peaches, and in the filmed episode, it's Birdie. So I don't know if that has any significance later because I didn't watch the show yet. I don't think they even name her in the episode of the comic. So I watched a little snippet interview with the originator of the comic book about whether or not he liked the show, and he wanted it to be more of a movie and obviously more gritty, but he understood that with the conventions that it was going to change. So he was happy with it.
So when did the comic book come out, and when did this film or television series come out?
That's a good question. I think
Because
the
since we've
series
just
is
gone through
just
a
coming out with
pandemic.
season 3.
Mm-hmm.
So at least 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
So both were written before our coronavirus pandemic?
Yeah, so Sweet Tooth is an American comic book limited series written and drawn by Canadian cartoonist Jeff Lemire, as also mentioned on the front page of our script. Dubbed by some as Mad Max meets Bambi. It was written from 2009 to 2021. So there are,
Oh.
I believe there's a number of issues, and then there was a comeback series. But if you look at the art, it's a lot rougher, more angular, a lot grittier. It's definitely not for kids. Whereas this show is definitely meant to be watched with a family. So I thought it was interesting how they took the source material, kept to it. So obviously there's still an apocalypse, there's still danger, there's still guns, there's still violence. There's still a dead dad. But we don't know where it goes. And it looks like, again, I haven't watched it or read the comic, but it looks like that doctor or that nurse in the first sequence that we see, the Indian doctor, is going to be possibly a villain.
Dr. Singh?
Yeah.
Oh.
Looks like there might be a storyline where he's trying to get the hybrids and find out why they're immune to the sick. But don't quote me on that.
Well, that sounds like something that someone in medicine would do because they, they want to understand. And yeah, that makes sense.
And it looks like the television series came out, it aired in 2021. So they must have started filming it at least a year earlier, right?
Yeah.
Oh, development began in 2018 and Hulu says. So yeah, both of these started before March 2020. It's because it's when you're watching it in 2021 and past, you're going to have a different reaction to
Exactly.
the whole epidemic.
Pandemic.
Yes, than you would, when they were writing it. So I was curious as to the dates on that one.
It also looks like, so the original 40 issue series was from 2009 to 2013. And then there was a 6-issue sequel from November 2020 to November 2021. So that would be coming out during the pandemic. And yeah, and also his father in the comic is sort of a evangelist. Well, in the show, it was like this sweet Will Forte character that didn't reflect a lot on God.
This
And yes, I have retained my nose and antlers.
This reminds me of a book from, well, I remember we had to read it in the 70s in school. I believe it was called Animal Farm.
George Orwell.
Yeah.
I've never read it, but I know of it.
Just the having people have animal type tails and ears and yeah.
Oh, also interesting was they used practical effects for the show instead of CGI. So there's a little bit of CGI here and there, but they actually used puppeting and puppeteering and dolls and motion for the animal hybrids. And you only see in the first episode, you see the babies. I believe the babies are all puppets. And you see like a bird baby and like a squirrel baby. But I just saw a clip for the season 3, and it looks like there's one that's more animal than human, but like a beaver wearing clothes. I don't know what it is, but a lot of them are more like Sweet Tooth, where they are more kid with a little ear features and head features. So I don't know how that works.
Might be easier than trying to have kids, wearing all the stuff you need for CG. So
Yeah. But it also makes it very cute because they wanted to have a feel of like, well, Jim Henson, like Labyrinth.
Right.
Also
little bit-
noticed script-wise that there were some shortcuts in the scripts, like at the beginning when the doctor or the nurse is going to work, it says like a kiss on the cheek, a wave at the door. It doesn't say from who to who, you just naturally know.
yeah, there are a lot of not quite sentences.
Yeah, a lot of fragments, but it worked. It's like shorthand for we know what's going on here. And obviously it was rewritten because there's a little bit that's changed. So the age of the boy, the name of the wife, a few more details in there. Like I'm not sure if the doctor, I think he was a doctor in the show, but he was a nurse in the pilot in the script. Dr. Singh?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he said he wasn't a doctor.
Yeah.
He
Even
might be.
though his name is Dr. Singh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really confusing when I read that.
That's funny.
Yeah, someone got confused at a point there. I don't know.
Script error. Maybe.
There he's a PhD. But
Oh, like I noticed something throughout the filmed pilot was that which I thought was very beautiful, that the signifier of the people getting sick was just a twitching pinky. And they didn't
And
have to
an
say
eye.
anything. Yeah, well, in the script, it's an eye and a pinky and a toe. But in the episode, it's just a pinky. It's a
Oh,
very
okay.
specific indicator of the sickness. Which was it was very cool visually because you didn't have to say anything. You just knew with that
meant-
twitching pinky. And also what they did
bad.
with dog and like personifying that stuffed animal and making it so devastating when he throws it in the fire.
Yeah. Because that's his only friend, really. Like
Yeah.
what
I,
we
I thought it
do
was-
when we're angry,
no, no, no.
Speaking of dogs.
it also had a bit of feel of that story, My Side of the Mountain. I don't know if you ever that
Yeah.
one with the boys and taking, in the woods by himself for a long time and about the same age and having to figure everything out and survive in the wilderness. Only in that book, no one's hunting him.
Yeah.
So there's a bit more anxiety on at least the part of the audience in this book, and maybe the kids too.
Yeah, in lots of ways because he really doesn't know how to survive on his own. I mean, like his father's dying and he doesn't know how to make breakfast for himself. Like dad didn't prepare him quite enough.
yeah.
I think the skunk just sprayed by my house.
Oh no.
I gotta go check my dogs. I'll be right back.
Not again. She's had bad luck.
Does the skunk live nearby? Speaking of forests and forest animals.
Yes, we tend to have, even though she lives in a city, there's a lot of parks and a lot of trees close to where she lives. So I'm in a very small town that's right on the edge. I look into a farmer's field. which gives me great sunrise shots. And we never see skunks around here, so I don't know.
Oh, she's coming back with her nose
Oh.
covered.
Very close to my house.
Oh dear.
It makes my dogs freak out. It smells so bad outside. Blech. Anyways.
My mom found one. Well, I saw
Oh.
one coming out from underneath her porch. She's in a small town. I don't think he sprayed. He just lives there.
Yeah, there's one, it's somewhere close. And last time it sprayed, it actually sprayed right in my neighbor's yard on the fence line between our two houses. When I couldn't get the smell out, it smells that close again. It's so gross. Anyways, I was gonna say the script really reads like a story though. Like when Kat was saying, it's like a fairy tale story. The script really is written very story-like.
Yeah, especially with that old man narrator.
Mhm.
Thought that our story begins in the middle. But Gus's story begins here.
Vicky, you do such a good job at the old man voices.
I was surprised there wasn't more of the old man narrator though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed
A lot
more
of it is
prominent in the
action.
episode, but
Mhm.
I mean, it did start at the beginning. It kind of had a vibe like Pushing Daisies.
Mhm.
They have a similar storybook
Oh.
feel. They're both narrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a cute read, and I'm actually interested to watch this now. I want to go watch the episode because
Yeah,
I
it's really cute. They
haven't
did a
watched any of it.
really good job with casting too. The main kid is just adorable.
That's the one who's right behind Cat with a broken antler.
Mhm, yeah.
This one here.
Yep.
So he breaks his antler somewhere.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it's one with those other. I can see a couple of fuzzy ears and maybe a tail back behind somebody.
Let's see.
That girl on the right almost looks normal. I can't quite tell what her animal is.
I see the girl that I think she's called Pig. She's got a pig nose.
Mm.
That's all I know. I'm thinking that the preserve is a trick.
It sounds like it's going to
Yeah.
be. I would expect it to be a trick.
I watched to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also curious because like the first episode being so heartwarming and story-like, and now that he's entering the apocalyptic world, can they retain that?
Well, you got to meet these other kids somewhere
Yeah.
along the line.
I mean, they're all smiling.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. It'll be interesting where the story takes it, that he's the only one that has ever known that talks or thinks or
Yeah,
it
that's
looks like they're all
me
wearing
too.
clothes, so that can't be true.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I have to go. My house smells really
Yes,
bad.
please go ahead.
I had a lovely time reading with you ladies.
Thank you. It's lovely when we have an all-female cast.
Oh, it's okay, wrong thing. Yeah, a very small cast for this one. Do you know what we're reading next week? by the
I
way?
have no idea.
No idea. No. Yeah, check the schedule. All right.
Well, it changes. Last week was supposed to be Natural Born Killers, and we had to move it.
Oh yeah, that's what we're gonna read, and then I couldn't make it, and I can't.
Yeah, neither could I.
Yeah,
So it got changed.
which is
So
too
same.
bad.
I don't know what's going on.
That's
Vicky, you're
another
muted, but you're
script
saying
that I
something
think
important.
will be a lot of narration, isn't it? It's a lot of
I don't
description.
remember that one. I know I saw
Natural
it.
Born
It's been a long
Killers?
time.
It's a lot. Yeah, there'll be a
There'll be a
lot
lot
of
of
action
narration.
and description. And my daughter is going to read with us when we do that one.
Oh, nice,
Awesome.
nice.
That
All
was-
right. Well,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for hosting, Erin.
Yeah.
Thank
Good
you
job,
for
guys.
Action Descriptions. Thank you, everyone, for helping me out.
Yes,
You-
Kat, amazing job as
Yeah.
always. You just rock that. Go rest your voice.
Until you start all over again.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Bye,
Great
guys.
week, everyone. Bye.
Bye.